Paul. Um, Seems like I've got a lot of megabytes on my phone running. Yes, the Google Play Store seems like it's always running. Do you ever have to clean out the memory of your Android smartphone or any other smartphone? Seems like I'm doing it multiple times a day, and I found 124 megabytes. Yes, but 63% of users. Yeah. Not having a phone where I don't have to continuously clean it out, yeah, somewhat of a frustration. It takes me a lot of time to have to go around poverty, it somewhat obligates you to have to do things that a lot of other people don't have to do. Now, I'm sure that every individual in law enforcement that received an email from me, yes. They did or did not think that the actual income that they receive is being used to pay them so that they can buy various products. Buy. Oh, is that VY? Why don't you get me all the words that end in VY? Oh, look at the launcher has stopped. Oh, now buy. Well, ev- I know there are a lot of words have the letter Y in them. Yes. Did the family really think that was Victory Y? Oh, I'm trying to tell you, it's 2:17. Okay, I got here about 5 minutes ago. Is everybody happy to know what time it is? You've been such assholes about the please keep your time to 2 hours a day. I really don't need you to remind me, okay, when to leave because I do obey the laws and sometimes I leave a little early. Yes, but very rarely do I leave late. Oh. Now, I wanted to look at something, and could you just give me the cell phones of those that are oaths, badges, attorneys, mandatory reporters, and the rest of the members of any covenants of the international community? Yeah. Could you do that? I just wanted to know. You get a lot of phone calls today congratulating you and winning the election, did you, Sheriff? Ouch. Well, why don't we look at your campaign contributions? Yes. Now, did somebody say they were going to subscribe your oath? Because I thought any oath of office that subscribes any oath of any individual that got elected to office, yes, is personally liable. Why don't you get me the cell phone calls of the last 2 days of every candidate for office? Did you get one of those special telephone calls? Oh. It's one thing to raise support before getting elected. It's another thing to raise support after being elected. Did somebody in the family said, "I'm sorry, I will only make campaign contributions." Oh, Mr. Nichols, the loans that you received for running for office? Yes. Is it one of those that we will pay the loan if you get elected to office, but we will not pay the loan if you don't? Why don't you give me every campaign loan and every individual that borrowed money to run for office? It's one thing to make a contribution, it's another thing to borrow money and then get that phone call from somebody that says, well, now I'll make a contribution. Exactly what are the election laws? Because I thought that you had to raise campaign contributions before, but you can raise them after being elected to office. Good. See, I don't know all the rules of running for election for the United States of America. I'm making sure that anybody that gives you any campaign contributions where you cannot actually take office because you know of certain crimes. Now, give me all the loans of every candidate for office for the last 10 years. Give me their phone calls before getting elected and after. Yes, yes, yes. And then get me the actual memory that they keep having to clean out of their smartphones. Somebody's got some wax in their ears, don't they? You decided to borrow money to get elected to office, and you can't take office unless you enforce the actual laws. And you said you had no obligation to enforce the law, but I thought you did. And then there's all these big issues about what's it mean? What's it mean? Pooh. Now let's see here. I'm going to want to know every phone call for the next 10 days of every person elected to office and every person that ran for office. You have some miscellaneous campaign expenses that you said, well, I'll get them paid once I get elected to office. But what happened? Seems somewhat frustrating knowing what you know about the crime of violating my civil rights and kidnapping my sons. Yesterday, I tell you, there's $100 billion worth of lawsuits that I'm wanting to file today. Yes, and you decided to get a phone call from a campaign contributor that said, "Well, since you won, I'll pay the law."